and everybody comes together and you play on team, people from Michigan, Wisconsin, whatever. And usually Midwest has one or two teams, but it's a great team experience at a high level. Next level down probably from Team Cup would be zonals. Women, okay, so we talked about women's tennis. We didn't say women's tennis, D1, 8 scholarships, Title IX. Men's tennis, 4.5. Men's tennis, no tennis at Ohio University, no tennis at Bowling Green anymore, no tennis, men's tennis at Miami. These programs have dropped tennis over the years to try and get the Title IX requirements of how they can spend money and not have to do more women's sports and more scholarships that way. So it becomes an equality thing. So what gets ripped? Men's tennis is 4.5. But now you look at Otterbein, here's Jamie going there on a full ride. How many times the tennis coaches have ways of creating aid for good students and tennis players. Obviously, they got to compete student-wise. They're not going to just go in there because they're the number one tennis player and get a full ride. But there's so much academic aid out there that Otterbein, usually the coaches are trying to say, I can make Otterbein the same price as Ohio State. That's probably as good a deal as you're going to see. But many of those schools are, I don't know what Otterbein is now, it's probably 37, 40, pretty, a lot of those schools are a lot of money for just regular tuition. But sometimes that's a way, and your tennis gets you in to be able to play and do something that maybe you wouldn't be able to do otherwise. Then there's D1, D2. D2 has scholarships. You don't see the one D2 school in town was, what was that?
High Dominican.
High Dominican, who dropped their tennis program for their football program, to make their football program better. Do we have any other D2s around?
Is it around the state? There are, not in Columbus. Oh, Shawnee State's got like 8 scholarships.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Yeah. Want to go live in Portsmouth? I'm from Portsmouth. No, sorry. I got out of there. Probably don't want to go to school there.
But they have the best like software or computer gaming like designer program in the country, I heard.
You just have to live in Portsmouth for 4 years. Sorry. And then junior college, NAIA, we've never had anybody gone to junior college to play. So it's a chance to go play 1 or 2 years and then be able to move up the ladder. And I assume they have some money for scholarships at that, but nobody looks that way.
A lot of them are in Florida or South, not as major.
And sometimes foreign players will come and play there to get noticed and then all of a sudden go play at Ohio State or whatever and be able to show their skills and go, oh, wow. They have a chance to go on and play big time school tennis.
But if you're interested in playing, there will be a program. It's easy to find a program or a lot of schools where you might be able to fit. So we're here to help you with that for sure. If you have any questions about that too,
there is a USTA book that lists every college and how many scholarships they have and what division they are and who the coach is. I don't know, maybe they don't have the coach now. It might even be online now. But
most of that's on tennis recruiting too.
You can go in and look up anything you want to find out about that tennis program. But again, we're here to try and help you in that way, and probably. And
it's not always that we've had kids that are on the top court of HP. Most of them go play college tennis. We were looking at Capital's site, and I saw that Jared Judson, who's a kid in our program, like 6 years. He just graduated from Capital 3 years ago, and he never made states. Didn't really play. Went to districts. Probably only played 3 tournaments a year. Now he's the he played 4 years at Capital. He's coaching Capital.
Men's coach at Capital. And so, here he fell in love with tennis.
Like Shavesh's level. You don't have to be playing. You don't have to be going to states to play college tennis.
A lot of resources on here. A lot of websites to go look at and find out what you might not know or have questions. There's so many things out there to see. The Tennis Channel, it's like we try and get the kids, we try and show them. Gabe does a lot better than I do, showing videos as he's teaching. Look at this, look at that. Brian does that too. And we try and get the kids to watch the Tennis Channel a little bit to see and go, oh, he's doing the same thing you're trying to get me to do. Sometimes that visual learning part would be a good thing. USTA has a high performance video section on their website that you can go in. They're showing the drills. They're showing the national coaches teaching a skill that the kids could go in, or you could go in and say, hey, you're having trouble with your forehand. Why don't you take a look at this? And we just got probably, how many more? Every 2 weeks or so, we keep getting more videos that they send us, and we try and show those sometimes to the kids. Sometimes many of them don't want to have that much attention span. They'd rather hit tennis balls.
We have a fitness program here. Some kids say, hey, can you do a training program for me? So there's like a Google Doc with all that, but there's also a YouTube channel that shows kind of a lot of the exercises. So if you're interested in that or new that, or just, all the kids are playing at a high level, that they're probably doing at least a couple days off court. If not, they're probably getting injured. So if you're only playing a couple hours a week, that's different. But if you're playing 10 plus hours a week, you should be doing that also, 5 hours, whatever works for you, 4 hours a week, 5 hours a week. But that's what's changed a lot in the game probably in the last.
Why don't we do a lot of fitness training? Because we have these kids for this amount of time. And at one point, I used to do, okay, if you want to do fitness training in this group, go to that bank. If you don't want to do fitness training, stay in this bank. Well, the first day, this many went. The second day, one kid went. And then it's like, okay, they don't want to come here to run and do this. They want to come here and play tennis because it's fun. And this is why we do what we do. And we've seen some programs in town that would spend 45 minutes of their 2-hour class working on fitness. We feel we don't get them for tennis that much, and you're paying a lot of money to do that. That if you need a program, we'll be glad to help you find one, design one, see one online that you could do on your own. And it would probably be way better for the kids to spend some of their other hours doing that part if they want to do that. But our philosophy is we want to try and train you as tennis players, and if you want to be in great shape, you're going to be better. But we're not going to push you to the point that you don't want to do tennis because you hate running.
And we have games we play in clinic where it's like, okay, we're playing this game where you're sprinting for a half hour. It's the most fun game we play, but you're dead if you play 2 games at the Four Corners with 3 on your team at the top level because they're sprinting the whole time. So we do that and play at the same time versus, okay, you're going to.
If we could get our kids to do one thing, and I've had one player that did this. This one girl walked in, and from the first time she got into my clinic, she never stopped moving her feet for the whole 2 hours. And I tried that one for a while, didn't work. I was yelling more, and that was one of the things that Bollettieri did when he started his first clinic. When you went to the clinic, you never stopped your feet moving the whole time you were out there. If you stopped, you got yelled at. You got really yelled. You got embarrassed. But again, it's those kids that want to do that. If somebody wants to do that, there's a lot of things that you could do. We have put in different exercises, jump ropes or whatever, behind if you're standing in line, that you could do something in between the points. One of the things on here is the 16-second cure. Billie Jean King. Anybody go see Billie Jean King? She was in town and spoke to the women's club, some women's group that's women in business. And the most important thing, one of my tennis parents came back and said, I said, well, what was the best thing? She says, you know what she said? She goes, you know what the toughest part in tennis was? It was the time between points. And it's 20 seconds you have to be ready to play. So there's this thing on here called the 16-second cure. This program, this mental training video is still up on the web, and it was made 27 years ago. And it's still the best that there is. And it's called the 16-second cure. And it's how do you deal with that 16 seconds between points? I always say golfers have the 2-minute video. It's like they hit a shot and they hit it bad. They have to walk to the next ball and they have to deal with that for 2 minutes. In tennis, we only have to deal with it 16 seconds. One of our great philosophies with the kids, what's the most important shot in tennis? I said another way. I asked a basketball coach. I go, what's the most important shot in golf? And I was playing golf with him. And he goes, the next one. He got it. It's not the last shot. It's not my forehand. It's the next shot. How do you become, we talked resiliency. How are you resilient enough to be able to lose 18 points in a row, but still come back and win a match. And we try and get the kids to get out of dealing with the last point, or I lost 5 in a row, or I'm going to win the next 3 games. You can't win the next 3 games till you win the next point. And it's like, how do you get focused on the mental side of the game? And we deal a lot mentally in our clinics. And most of the time, it's probably more about mentally trying to deal with them than it is physically. It's not about their shots that they brought today. It's how they're competing and how they're dealing with life today. Somebody kicked my dog, and that's how they come to clinic. And we got to deal with them because they're still mad because somebody kicked their dog today.
That's about it. I think we've been through kind of our philosophy.
Anything
Again,
else
we
there?
try to get kids to coach themselves. And
Trying to develop athletes first, tennis players second. We feel that tennis is the game of lifetime, and these skills, I always tell the story, I don't think my son is where he is in life today without losing in tennis and being frustrated and dealing with being out there on the court. You know, there's no other sport where you have to cooperate and make good calls with somebody and still compete against them. And there's no coaching, there's no timeouts, there's nowhere to go hide when you're losing. It's a brutal game, but it also, we feel, helps kids develop to be who they want to be many times later. And we keep trying to push that part of it. That's what we want. We want great people. We try and create an environment where players love to train and love to compete. Why do we keep score? When I first came here, I didn't keep score in everything I did. You remember that we didn't keep score?
Yeah.
And it was like we did a lot of cooperation things in that. But we did kind of keep score and cooperating. You had to hit this many in a row and whatever. But it took me not very long to realize that, no, you get half the effort. I remember I had a kid who was French. When we used to run a 10-court clinic, it was started on the bottom court was 10. This kid's 13 years old, and by the time we're done, at the end of the day, if you won, you moved up a court. By the end of the day, he was on court 3 in the front building. And I'm like, Frenchie, how did you get here? He goes, I won. And here's a kid that we'd never put him on the top court, and all of a sudden he had a chance to compete. We feel that everybody has a chance to compete in whatever group they're in. There's 2 things that happens when you win in our groups. 1, you get to play in a higher court. 2, if you win, you play more points. You can stand for 3 in a row. If you're not playing very much today, it's because you're not winning. If you're the best kid on the court, you're going to play 3 points, your partner's going to lose 1, you're going to play 3 more points, your partner's going to lose 1. But if you win every one of those 3, you're still going to win. Don't complain because my partner was bad, because we give you 3 chances to beat everybody. If you're the best player, you still have a chance to get there. And this is why I started keeping score, because I didn't want to say, some places will put the top players on the court. Oh no, those kids, no, you don't play with those kids. You don't get a chance to play them. You get a chance to play with anybody. And we try and play between the buildings when we have groups that are similar. And we try and let those kids that are below prove that you'll be there. How do we move kids out of group? When they beat everybody in their group every day, yeah, we recognize, wow, we've had some of those promotions, haven't we? It's like,
yep.
They just keep working.
Oftentimes we'll try to move, if it's younger, we try to move a group of them together, but sometimes we have the groups at the same time, so it's easier to do that.
And we feel that it's important to keep kids playing together in their group. Even though they might be able to play up and play higher, it's a different level of tennis. And how do we create pressure? We create pressure the most when we play between buildings and somebody's from the top group playing somebody who come up from the bottom group, and if they lose, they got to go to the other side. We've had kids walk out the door because they are too embarrassed to walk to the other side. But what's worse is they walk to the other side, they play again, they lose, and all of a sudden we'll go look, and they're on the bottom court on the other side, but they started in the other group in the other building. But it's kind of the walk of shame, and it's tough on them. But sometimes we get them to laugh at themselves and go, you know what? That's what happens when you don't bring it, because somebody else wants your spot. And that's where we create pressure and competition, and what really drives our groups and our kids. Because whatever it is, they know they're going to move up or move down if they win. Questions?
Yeah.
Your questions.